All right, hi everyone. Welcome back to Bino Sestramalka's channel. Today is more, I'm going to talk with you about how I edit work. I know a lot of you are at home and the teachers are sending home creative writing and you want to help your kids because now, even though they're teachers working with them, but it's really the parents who are taking on this new role. So, step number one. Oh, before I get onto the steps, I just want to point out I do teach all different age groups. So this is literally for every single child, no matter what age they are. So that's a plus for you all. Anyway, step number one is a read through it first to kind of get an idea of what's going through the child's head. Because if I can relate to them, it makes their whole experience better. And they want to hear from me because I understand them. Step number two, now that I have kind of the outline and the information, I would then ask the child what they think and how they feel. Because again, we need to be on the same page with each other. Step number three, now this goes, I would say within 2 to 3 months after the child's writing, I set up my expectations. And my expectations are in the very beginning and remain consistent, a capital letter from the beginning, and we end the sentence with a period. Very, very simple. And the first thing I go through them is I'll point out, let's say, sentence three. I'll be like, I noticed something's different. Can you kind of figure it out here? And then, oh my goodness, I forgot my capital. Oh my goodness, I forgot my period. So that's step number three, is to go over and fix the easy mistakes that the children more or less know about. And again, they're happy. They want to write. So it's just at this point really an oversight. It's like, oops, here's the mistake, move on. Step number three. Four. Now this one is very, very different. I can be working with a teenager. I can be working with a younger student. And step number four is spelling. Now, here's how I pick out spelling, and it's the same no matter how old they are. The first thing I look for is I will pick 3 to 5 words, depending on how much I think the child can learn. So, 3 to 5 words. Of those words that I feel is the most important, then I will evaluate those words and decide one of two things. Number one, is it a word that is based off of a phonetical rule? And in that case, I will teach the phonics to the child. And number two, is this error an actual sight word? Like the word love. If I were to sound it out, it would say loave. So obviously the child cannot actually sound it out. So in which case I will play some games, help the child memorize it. So again, of the 3 to 5 words that we are choosing for spelling, the first one is to make sure that it's not sometimes kids need to brush up on their phonics rule. So if it's that simple, we go back to the basics, relearn the phonics word, the rule, and before you know it, the kid is not only spelling that word right, but every other word that follows that rule. So back to the basics and phonics. Step number two, is it a legit sight word? In which case, no matter how many rules you teach, there's no spelling involved. And in that case, we take it a step further, created a sight word, and the kid has it memorized, and no more mistakes. Now, the last thing I focus on is, of course, grammar. Now, excuse me, grammar is very different depending on age, level, and skill. Now, how you look at grammar really depends. So let's say a child at the very basic is, and I love this one, like and. So then I'll tell them, and they went to the store and I went to the market and then I came to school and then I went back to the market to get the perishables and the kids are like looking at me like, what just happened? And then I'll point out, I'm like, what just happened? So the first thing if I also try to focus on is a grammar issue. And if it's something relatable, like the word and, they usually get it. And within 3 times of me pointing it out, they're on their own. And after they realize, well, they'll come to like, well, I have all these things. What can I use? And make sense. And notice, they come to me and then I'll introduce the comma. So when there's a grammar mistake, instead of pointing it out as a mistake, I try to make it as relatable as possible. So again, the 5 ways I edit the paper is number 1, I read it over so I can connect with the child, and it's more of a conversation than, oh, here are your mistakes again. Who wants to be told that? Number 2, I ask the child how they feel about the paper, because let's face it, not everybody's born a writer. And what if a child meant to say something and it came out differently? So I need to have this dialogue going. Number 3, I set up the expectations. The first is always capital in the beginning, period at the end. As I build a relationship with the child, as I see the child's abilities, I change our expectations. And you know what? It is so little and so slow. Children don't notice, and they are flourishing. Number 4, I find a few spelling mistakes. And to me, spelling is super important because it tells me if the children remember the phonics, and it tells me if there's a sight word that they didn't have to know. Now they know a new word. And the last, I usually try, and this is depending on the child. If the expectations are set up, there's sometimes even no need to brush up on their grammar. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. So number 5, get to know your child. And before the year's through, your kid has just learned a whole load of skills and really little need for teaching. So if you have any questions, let me know. And yeah, this is how we do writing and editing. And you parents are doing a great job. I know this is, for some of you, your first time actually home and editing. And keep up the good work. This too shall pass, and the teachers are here to take over again. Have a good day. Don't forget to like if you like this video so I'll know feedback and make more. And don't forget to subscribe because you never know. You might learn a thing or two to help your kids. Have a good day.